Okay, today's daf is 103, and we begin with the last word of 102b. So yesterday we encountered two psukim from which we learned three halachos. The psukim were lo tochal nefesh shima basar, and ubasar basadet trefa lo tochelu. And we have three prohibitions in there: aver minachai, basar minachai, and trefa. Basar minatrefa. So we had a dispute over which two you learn from which one, and the wind up the nafkamina is if you commit two of those averos, two of those prohibitions, violate two of the prohibitions, then it depends. If both prohibitions are from the same pasuk, you're only liable for one set of lashes. If they are from two separate prohibitions, then the two separate psukim, then you're liable to two sets of lashes. Or meaning. So they ask the following question. Achal aver min achai min treifa. Brisa says if you eat a aver min achai from a animal that is mortally wounded, that is not viable. Rabbi Yochanan amar chayav shnayim. Rabbi Yochanan says you get two sets of malchus. Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish amar ein chayav elachas. Rabbi Lakish says only one. So Bishlamel Rabbi Yochanan nicha. I understand Rabbi Yochanan's position because it corresponds with what he said, what we saw that he said yesterday, that Aver Minachai and Basar Min Trefa are from two separate sources. Ella Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish Kasha. But Rosh Lakish, why does he say one? Yesterday we saw that he would say that these two psukim are from two separate psukim. These two Isurim are from two separate psukim. Amar of Yosef Lo Kasha, no problem. Kan behema achas, kan b'shtei behemos. Depends if we're talking about what he ate was from one animal or two animals. Okay, b'shtei behemos b'chayav shtayim. If there's two animals and you eat, even if the source of the prohibition of what you're eating is from the same place, but if you do it in two animals, so for each one you're chayav. B'behema achas plige, but he would indeed hold that. One second. They would both agree if there were two animals that there would be two sets of malchus, but if it's only one animal, they disagree. So what is that disagreement if it's only one animal? What we're talking about here is an animal that was being born, and as it's being born, it suffered some kind of injury that made it a treifa, that made it non-viable. Rabbi Yochanan will hold that while the animal, even while it's still alive and still whole, we look at it as a collection of avarim, right? So the avarim achai already applies. Ve'isur treifa, ve'isur aver, b'hadei hadodei, kasu. So how do these two isurim come about? When it becomes while it's being born and it suffers this injury that makes it a treifa, it happens at the same time. Umar Savar, Behema B'chayel Lav V'levarim Omedes, but Reish Lakish would hold that while the animal is alive, we don't look at it as a collection of limbs. We look at it as a unit, an animal. So the Avram Achai doesn't start to apply until it's born, right? Until then, it's still part of the mother. Well, see, Isur Aver, Chayla Isur Trefa, and so since they both, you have the issue of Isur and Isur Chalal Isur. If both of the prohibitions came about at the same time, then you can only be chayiv once. Or you could answer, everybody holds that it's not while the animal's alive. It's not considered a collection of avarim. It's considered one thing. The actual machlokas is: do we say isur chalal isur or not? Do we say that both that you have something that's usur already? Can another isur come to apply to it? So in other words, originally it was a treifa, and then does the Aver Minachai, when you take it apart, does that make it a separate isur? Marsavar isur Evel Chayil isur treifa. One holds, Rabbi Yochanan holds that yes, that the second isur does take effect. It was already usher, so we don't, when you make it Eivrim min achai, but it was already a treifa, we don't apply the new status of an Isur as well. It's just under the first original Isur status. Or you could say, everybody holds that we do look at the animal as a collection of limbs. What the case we're talking about here is it's born, and then later it becomes a treifa. And we're talking about whether the Isur treifa um, uh, takes effect on the Avrim Achai Isur that was there already. Marsava Asil V'Chayil. One says yes. Marsava Asil V'Chayil. And Shavit says no. Rava has another answer. Kigon Shatalash Mimana Aver Utrafa Bo. What we're talking about is by the act of removing the aver from the animal, that is what made it a treifa, right? So you rip off its leg, it's not viable anymore by that very act. Rabbi Yochanan holds that while it's alive, we don't look at it as a collection of limbs, rather as a whole animal. So Easter aver, Easter treifa, kasu. So it comes about at the same time. You rip off the leg, that makes it a treifa, and that makes it aver min achai. No, with the other one, Rish Lakish holds that we already look at it as a collection of avarim. So the aver is already forbidden, right? Even though you haven't torn it off yet, but the leg of the animal is still asur because of aver min achai. Should you go ahead and take it off and eat it? So then when you actually go and do that and make it a treifa, the leg was already asur because of aver min achai. So the isur of treifa does not come on top of it. That's the machlokas. What if we eat chelev from a chelev min achai min treifa? You have a treif animal, a non-viable animal, and you eat chelev from it. Chayav shtaim. Then you get latches for two things, for treifa and chelev. Amalei Rami, so Rami says, "V'leim amar shalosh." Only two. What about three? Shani omer shalosh. There's actually three things that um, that you're over. The third one would be would be Ever Minachai. So eat Nami, and by the way, we also have a statement, and we have something that supports that. That yes, there's three isurim here: treifa, chelev, and Ever Minachai. So what would be the distinction between these two quotes of Rav Yochanan? The disagreement between these two versions of Rav Yochanan, these two statements in the name of Rav Yochanan, would differ on this case where it became a treifa while being born. Mandi Amar Shalosh, if you think there's three malchos, three liabilities here, kasavar, that's because behema b'chayel levarima. That's because we look at the animal as a collection of limbs, so the limb is already usher, even before any of this occurred, it's already usher because of Eivrim Achai. The Isur Chelev, Isur Ever, Isur Treifa, B'Hanei Adadei, and Kasu. So everything came at its birth, right? At its birth, it became a collection of Evarim, so it's also because of Eivrim Achai. It's also because of Chelev at birth, because now it just got born, and all the rules of eating apply to it. The Chelev is Asur, and it became a Treifa at the time it was being born. That's the case we're talking about. So there's three. Umandi Amar Shtayim, but if you say there's only two, Kosavar Behema B'Chayel Lav Levarim Amanis. No, we don't look at it as a collection of Evarim. While the animal is alive, Ever Minachai, and before you take off an Ever Minachai does not apply to it because it's a whole animal. Once you tear off the leg, then it becomes an Ever Minachai problem. But at the time it was born, it's a whole body, and Ever Minachai did not. It's not subject to that Isur yet. I mean, the Isur hasn't taken effect yet. Isur Chelev, Isur Treifa, Ika. So you have the Isur of Chelev and Treifa when after it's born because it has chaylev and it is a treifa, so it's asur because of that. But you haven't torn off the leg yet. Isur aver lo asi chayil. At that time, it didn't have the isur of aver min achai, and since it's already asur because of the other two things, Aver Minachai can't take effect one Easter on top of another. V'bay Sema, or you could say, what's the difference in Rav Yochanan's, in the quotes of Rav Yochanan? The Chuli Yama Behemo Chayel Lavlei Ramedes. Both versions of Rav Yochanan hold that it's a whole animal, and we don't think that it's a collection of Aver, so the Aver Minachai doesn't apply yet. May say Easter Aver V'Chayel Easter Chayel Easter Treifa Kamifli. They're arguing about whether it's possible for this newfound isur of Ever Minachai to apply to something that's already asur because of Treif and Chalef. Marsaver Asichai, one says yes, Marsaver Lo Asichai, one says no. That's why we have two different versions or two different reports of what Rabbi Yochanan would hold. V'bay Sema. Or you could say, maybe both versions of Rav Yochanan hold that we do view the animal as a collection of Evarim. Evarim Nachai already applies as soon as it's born. But when did it become Treifa? We're not talking about a case of when it became a Treifa during the birth process. Later on, it became a Treifa. So then you've got the two probations, Evarim Nachai and Chaylev, and the Yisur of Treifa comes later, so we don't put it on top of those. The question is, do we do that? Do we say the Isur Treifa is now added on when it becomes Treifa Marsav or Asul Chayil, Midid Hava Chaylev? It would one version of Rabbi Yochanan says that we do add on the new prohibition, just like we add Chaylev. Diamar, what do we know about Chaylev? HaTorah Amar Yavo Isur Nevela Yochol Isur Chaylev. An animal exists, it already has chalev, and the Torah says now if it becomes a nevela, we actually do add that on. So regardless of any usual principles, here the Torah is telling us that we add on the iser of chalev. If you have iser trefa, yachol iser chalev, and the same with trefa. V'idach, but the other Rabbi Yochanan quote will hold as follows: Achelev hu d'chayil. Yes, the Torah says about chalev the hutar because chalev is something that's sometimes permitted, sometimes not permitted. So, for example, behema and chaya, right? The only issur of chalev is a domesticated animal, not a wild animal. Okay, so aval aver is lo hutar mikol, but aver min chaya, which is always forbidden, right? Behema chaya. We wouldn't say that the treifa takes, is added on top. When Rav Dimi came, he said, "Ba'amine Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish me Rabbi Yochanan, Rish Lakish Rabbi Yochanan, Chilko mi b'chutz." What if? Okay, now we're getting to some completely different questions about Ever Minachai. What if you have Ever Minachai and you have a kazayas and you cut it in half. You eat one half and then the other half, presumably not at the same time. Okay, because if it's at the same time, but we'll see maybe some details here. So if you eat half an olive and then half an olive, Mao, what about that? Amalei Patri says, no problem. Mi bifnim, what about if you put it all in your mouth and then you swallow half of it and then later you swallow the other half? What about that? I'm really high of that. In that case, you are liable. Okay, so that's already when you put it in your mouth, it's already considered eating. And you have the whole kazayas in your mouth, so you're chayav. Yes, Rabbi Namar, when Rabin came, he said the following version of that discussion. If you cut it in half outside of your mouth and then you eat each half separately, pater, then you're pater mibifnim. And if you put it all in your mouth and then swallow half and later swallow the other half, Rabbi Yochanan Amar Chayav. Rabbi Yochanan says you're chayav. Rish Lakish Amar pater. Rabbi Yochanan Chayav. Why was Rabbi Yochanan say you're chayav? Harei nene grano because it's in your mouth at the same time. That's called eating. Reish Lakish Amar Pater. Reish Lakish says no. Achila b'meyav binan v'leika. When do we call it eating? When you swallow it, when it gets to your stomach. So if you only half of it gets to your stomach at a time, then you never have a full kazayas that you're eating. El Reb Shimon ben Lakish Hechem Shkachos Lo Chayev. Well, if that's the case, like how can you ever be chayev, right? That's how you eat, right? You put food in your mouth, you chew it, um, you start swallowing it. Like you're never going to swallow the whole thing at one time. Americana bigrumisa zirsa. We're talking about where there's this like small bone that you can swallow whole. So it's an entire um, um, it's something that you don't chew up, but you swallow whole. So that because that's a standard Aver Min HaChai thing, that's the kind of Aver Min HaChai that you could be chayav on. Rabbi Lazar Amar. Rabbi Lazar says, "Afilu chilcha mibachutz nami chayav." No, he goes the other way. Even if you split it um, outside of before you put it in your mouth, and you eat half, and then you eat the other half, you're still chayiv. Mechusar kariva love kemechusar masa, because um, you're still eating the whole thing. So just because the pieces weren't united at the time that you ate them, he doesn't look at it that way. He looks at it like, look, you have in front of you Aver Min HaChai, a whole kazayas. You start eating it. You put one forkful in your mouth and then the other forkful. It's still considered one act of eating. Amar Shlaki, Rabbi Shimon ben Lakish, Kazayas Shamru, that Kazayas that you have to eat in general, um, any shiur of forbidden eating is a Kazayas. Chutz Mishel Ben Hashinayim. Um, if some of it gets stuck in your teeth and you don't end up swallowing it, then that makes the swallowed part less than the kazayas. In other words, some of the kazayas got left behind in your teeth. Um, then you're okay. It's only if you swallow a whole kazayas that you're chayav. Rabbi Yochanan Amar af im ben ishnai. Rabbi Yochanan says no. You put it all in your mouth, so some get stuck in your teeth. It doesn't matter if the whole kazayas got in your mouth, then you're already chayav. Amar of Papa b'shel ben ishnayim d'chol yom lo plige. The no, everybody, we're not understanding this right. Everybody agrees that whatever gets stuck in your teeth doesn't count towards the kazayas. Keep thinking. What are they arguing about? Bein hachani chaim. We're talking about food that's stuck on your palate. Okay, um, so um, Marsavar Hare Nana be grown because you're if it's on your palate, then you're enjoying the food, right? Food that's stuck in your teeth, you don't taste, right? You're not it's not in contact with, I guess, the taste buds. So you're not enjoying it. You're not, so it's not called eating. But if it's on the palate, then it's called eating. So it could be called eating. So Rabbi Yochanan holds if it's in your mouth and it's on your palate, then that's part of the kazayas. That's because that's what he considers eating. Umar Savar Achil B'meyav Mina. Reish Lakish says no. If it's still anywhere in your mouth, it didn't go into your stomach. That's not called eating. So the whole kazayas has to go down to your stomach in order to make you chayav. Amar Rabasi Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Achal Chatzi Kazayas Vekio. What if you eat half a kazayas and then you throw it out? And then you eat the other half, right? Chayev. Rabbi Yochanan says you're liable. My tama, why? Harinana grona because it doesn't matter that you threw it up out of your stomach. It already entered your mouth. Rabbi Yochanan holds that the hana of eating is in the mouth, so you did benefit from that. Whatever happened to it afterward doesn't matter. You ate the other half of the kazayas, then that makes you liable. Rabbi Lazar asked, same case, you ate half a chazayis and threw it up, and then you ate that same half a chazayis. Can you eat the same thing twice? Might come and violate. So Gemara says, what are you asking? Ihavi equal, ilohavi equal. Are you asking whether that's considered digested again, v'tivayle b'kazayis, then why do you need this case of a half a kazayis? You could even ask about the full kazayis. Like if you throw it up, does that mean it hasn't been digested? Ella Ibasar Gronos lean on Ibasar Me'avos lean on. Maybe we're asking the question of Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish that does it when is it considered eating in your mouth or in your stomach? If that's the question, Tifshalemi Dravasi. We already saw that from Ravasi, from the half. If you eat half, throw it up and eat another half, so you know the answer. The answer is it depends. I mean, every answer that you give will. It's no different than the case of re-eating the first half. Um, so. So Ravasi Gemari Iakarle. So Rabbi Lazar, he knew the answer to the question, but he asked it because Ravasi forgot. He realized Ravasi forgot what he had learned. He was misreporting Rabbi Yochanan. If he asked Rabbi Lazar, Rabbi Lazar wanted to remind him. Here's what he's saying. What he's saying is exactly a question. Like, why are you asking about a different half kazayas? Lema marbidi day. You could ask the same question even when you reconsume the first half of kazayas, the same half kazayas. Ikal mishmad minatarte. You could learn two things from talking about that. Shamina mina delahavi equal. You could learn that if you swallow food, it's not digested yet. V'shamina mina deharei nena bigronim kazayas. And you could learn that eating is when you put it in your mouth. Ishtik v'lamalei lamides. Ravasi didn't have anything to answer. Amalei Ravasi. That's a mofe sadar. You brilliant person. Lo zimnin sagin amras kamed Rabbi Yochanan. Didn't you yourself say before Rabbi Yochanan many times that if you eat a chatzi zayis, spit it out and then eat it again, you're chayav yamalach. And Rabbi Yochanan said to you, "Harei nana gronim," because zayis. Rabbi Yochanan said, "Of course, because because you've put it in your mouth." And putting it in your mouth is when it's eating, and so Rabbi Yochanan was saying he agreed with you. Okay. Um, and Hadron Lachid Anasha, that's the end of this parak, and tomorrow David will pick up with the eighth parak of the beginning of the eighth parak. Have a good day, everybody.